The story begins with the descent of a mysterious phenomenon beneath the moon over the main peak of the Yuntan Sword sect, located on the Xiantian continent. Inside the sect, two attendants engage in a quiet conversation about their mistress's personal affairs. One attendant is puzzled by the mistress's affection for the man she dismisses as a drunkard. The other, citing a fellow servant's account, reveals that their mistress's involvement with this man is the result of careful orchestration by the sect's acting master, who is also her uncle. They exchange further rumors about the man's erratic behavior and propensity for violence, casting doubts on the acting master's judgment in endorsing such an insincere marriage. The story further unfolds to reveal the prominence of their mistress, Bai Ji, the daughter of the sect's former headmaster, painting a picture of her as a key figure in the sect's dynamics. The focus then shifts to Suchin, the man previously referred to as a drunkard. Amidst an agonizing headache, he is confronted with sudden flashes of memory, recognizing them as glimpses of his own past. His memory starts from his earliest days as an infant, a brief period of warmth that was cruelly cut short. His time in isolation soon followed, marked by loneliness and the struggle for survival in a world that had turned its back on him. A moment of solace follows, with a memory of a girl his age presenting him with food, her smile a temporary balm to his enduring hardships. From these humble beginnings, Suchen's journey ascends to the top as the great Emperor of Nirvana, a title that crowns his achievements in the realm of sword cultivation. In his final memory, a sinister betrayal unfolds through his deceitful companion, who reports to a figure whom she holds with affection. Suchen, she claims, has been fatally injured by her hand. The figure responds with cold approval, promising a reward for her centuries of deception. Emerging from the memory of betrayal, Suchen opens his eyes, realizing he has survived. He surveys his surroundings and recognizes Bai Ji, the kind girl who once gave him food when he was starving as a child. Puzzled, he questions the reality of his situation, wondering if this is a dream. Quickly coming to his senses, he acknowledges that this is indeed reality. As he reflects on his situation, he soon realizes that he has reincarnated not only as a drunkard but also as a son-in-law. Yet, he finds the circumstances of his current identity, and Baiji's to be less than ideal. Reflecting on the situation, he acknowledges the irony: the things he once had are now gone, and the aspirations that eluded him have unexpectedly resurfaced in his current life. Amidst Su Chen's contemplation, Bai Yunxian, the son of the acting sect master, mockingly commented on Baiji's eagerness to be with her new partner just after the engagement banquet had ended. One of his companions joined in the mockery, noting that Baiji's eagerness could be attributed to Su Chen being a rare combination of both a drunkard and a mad dog. She continued by remarking that despite the circumstances of the arranged marriage, Baiji seemed quite content with the husband chosen for her by the acting sect master. Clearly agitated, Baiji admonished them for going too far. However, with a condescending smirk, Yunxian only heightened the tension of the encounter. He confronts Baiji with a provocative question, suggesting that her deceased father's status as the sect master is now irrelevant. He boasts of his father's control over the Yunlan sword sect and implies that allowing her to remain and providing her with a husband should be seen as an act of generosity to someone he deems useless. He then challenges her, questioning her audacity to defy their decisions and take a stand. Hearing his words, Baiji calls him out for being shameless. She then decided to leave, instructing Su Chen to depart with her. However, blocking their path with his hand, Yunxian demanded them to halt. He asserts his authority, reminding her that the Yunlan sword sect is under his father's command and that he, Yunxian, holds sway over decisions, even if his father is 100 miles away. Deriving amusement from her distress, Yunxian pointed a finger at her as they broke into laughter. Appearing tired of their ridicule, Su Chen extended his hand, internally deeming the group's actions reckless. With Yunxian lost in scornful laughter, Su Chen abruptly ended it by forcefully breaking his finger, teaching him the value of respect. Not stopping at that, Su Chen followed up with a swift kick to his abdomen, declaring it a lesson in proper conduct. The unexpected retaliation leaves the observers collectively surprised, taken aback by the escalation. Amidst Baiji's disbelief, Yunxian attacked from behind, questioning Su Chen's daringness to touch him. Yet, finding Yunxian's actions absurd, Su Chen quickly turned the tables, firmly grasping Yunxian and propelling him to the ground with a swift, decisive motion. With Yunxian beneath his feet, Su Chen emphasizes the humility he intends Yunxian to take away from their encounter. Directing his firm attention to Yunxian's companions, Su Chen's threatening presence loomed over them as he demanded them to apologize. Under the threat of further consequences, the two women hesitantly bowed, their apologies laced with fear. As they retreated from the scene, murmurs of disbelief and whispers of Yunxian's status as a fifth-level profound master circulated amongst them, his unexpected defeat sowing seeds of shock and confusion. With Baiji looking at him with a mix of surprise and admiration, Su Chen fondly reaches out to her hand, returning her gaze with a soft expression. He confidently assures her safety in their married life, promising that no one can hurt her as long as he is around. Baiji listens intently, her blush a silent testament to the impact of his words. With Yunxian defeated in the background, Su Chen indicates that it is time for them to leave. Momentarily lost in thought, Baiji acknowledges with a soft affirmation. Moments later, as Yunxian regains consciousness, he finds himself isolated as he gritted his teeth in a mix of anger and pain. Burning with the embers of wounded pride, he unleashes a howl of rage into the night, promising his vengeance to the couple. In contrast, the scene shifts to the lively room of an elder, who is celebrating the success of the wedding, noting that his long-term worry has been solved. Bai Qinshan, the acting headmaster and grand elder of Yunlan Sword Sect, predicted that after some time, the world would know that Bai Ji had married a wimp. His mockery extended to the elders of the sect who supported her, questioning how they could possibly think they had any chance against him for the esteemed position of headmaster. In the midst of his jeering, a knock sounded at the door. Without losing his air of superiority, Qin Shan commanded the visitor to enter. In the aftermath of his defeat, Yunxian sought the aid of his father, urging him to take action on behalf of his son. Looking upon him with concern, Qin Shan demanded to know who had dared to harm him within the bounds of their Yunlan Sword Sect. As he held his cheek, Yunxian named Bai Ji's husband as the one responsible for his current state. He expressed a desire for his father to take action, specifically wanting Bai Ji and her husband to be expelled from their sect. Reflecting on the situation, Qin Shan spoke of Su Chen with contempt, labeling him a loser who, despite not having been officially kicked out, had the audacity to act in a lawless manner. He found the situation both outrageous and intriguing. Bewildered and agitated, Yunxian questioned his father's reaction, pointing out that Su Chen's behavior was already unacceptable and wondering if his father still considered the familial ties important. Qin Shan affirmed, reminding Yunxian of the crucial alliance they had with the powerful Huangfeng faction for mining rights at the Xianling mine. He warned that if Bai Ji were to be kicked out, it would result in dire consequences. Bai Qin Shan also expressed concern about his precarious position, acknowledging that while the elders of the sect appeared to be allies, they were only superficially so, and he had not yet secured his role as the sect's master. He feared that any misstep could lead to their downfall, as the sect would turn on them ravenously. With a sense of newfound confidence, Yunxian proposed a bold move to his father. He suggested that forging a connection with Huangfeng Valley should be as attainable for him as it was for Bai Ji. He reasoned that if he could negotiate a deal with them, it would solidify his father's position as the sect master. Laughing heartily, Qin Shan commended Yunxian's resolve and decided that his son would assume all of Bai Ji's responsibilities within the sect from that point forward. With a smirk on his face, Yunxian reassured his father. He confidently asserted that he would handle the situation and, once the deal was secured, he would ensure that Bai Ji and her husband would never return to the sect. Shifting the scene to Qinxian Peak, Bai Ji concluded that Yunxian would not stand idly by in the face of Su Chen's actions. She allowed him to stay with her temporarily but warned with a serious tone that he was not to enter the back room, noting that she would not hesitate to treat him rudely if he did. Yet, as she laid out this condition, Su Chen made his bold move. Flustered and cornered, Bai Ji warned him that she would not hesitate to be rude if he didn't step aside. However, upon leaning closer, Su Chen expressed his curiosity to see just how rude she could be. He then teased Bai Ji, questioning her ability to hold onto the blanket and playfully insinuating whether her clumsiness was a sign of her affection for him. Caught off guard by his teasing, Bai Ji hesitated, her words stumbling as she denied being in love with him. Her flustered expression contradicted her words, creating a moment of tension between them as she left. Under the back of his mind, Suchin acknowledged the shortcomings of his current status. Despite this, he noted Bai Ji's willingness to accept him regardless. He chuckled to himself, reflecting on her nature, finding humor and warmth in her innocence and kindness. With a gentle and determined expression, he made a silent pledge to himself, a vow to be the one to protect her from that moment forward. In the stillness of the night at Qinxian Peak, Suchen's solitary figure stood outside the residence. In a secluded spot close to a mysterious lake, he observed with a hint of surprise that the pool contained a faint essence of moon-yin power. In conjunction with the elixir he found, he contemplates the efficiency of this combination, anticipating that it would allow him to cultivate more effectively, achieving twice the result with half the effort. As Suchin sat in meditative cultivation, an hour slipped by unnoticed. In this tranquil state beside the lake, a mark suddenly appeared on his forehead, accompanied by a profound energy that suddenly erupted from it. Despite acknowledging his advancement into the realm of a profound master, the sensation accompanying it was unfamiliar to him, prompting him to ponder its obscurity even to someone with his knowledge. Amidst this contemplation, Suchen's inner vision was greeted by the sight of a radiant sword. He recognized its aura as the Excalibur of Nair. In disbelief, Suchen wondered why the sword was there, given that it had destroyed itself to self-destruct with him. Gazing at the mysterious Heaven's supreme treasure, Suchen asked earnestly if the sword before him was truly his partner. As Suchen extended his hand towards the sword, an intense glow suddenly emanated from it, revealing a mysterious scripture. Suchen speculated if the Excalibur which had exploded with him was a blessing in disguise, leading to the revelation of the true secrets of the Xiantian heavenly treasure. He then addresses his old partner, confidently declaring that, in his new life, all that was lost or grieved will be repaid manifold. Noticing another presence, Suchen recognized that the earlier disturbance may have drawn unwanted attention. One of the figures expressed disappointment, deeming their investigation pointless, while his companion insisted on having seen a fire just now. Frustrated, the first figure criticized this claim as a waste of time. The junior then inquires about Bai Ji's full authority to cooperate with Huan Fenggu in mining the Xianling ore. Dismissing Bai Ji, the senior voiced skepticism that Yunxian would allow her to maintain that authority. The junior then laments the unfortunate circumstances that Bai Ji has faced, including the sudden death of the former sect master and the potential of losing her project to the young master. The senior acknowledged the situation's complexity, emphasizing the importance of the project and the implications it has for their sect. He points out that successful cooperation could elevate their sect to new heights and possibly result in a solidified leadership of the current acting headmaster. Listening intently, Suchen reflected on Yinchuan's disregard for his warnings, considering it a reckless game of fire. After silently returning to the residence, Suchen muses about his understanding of the situation. While the nuances of swordsmanship were within his grasp, the enigmatic nature of fate's reincarnation eluded him. He reflected on the ironic twist his life had taken. In this reincarnation, he found himself intertwined with Bai Ji, not as adversaries or strangers but in the intimate role of her husband. Acknowledging the divine favor that life seemed to bestow upon him this time, Suchen vowed to ascend to unparalleled heights, taking Bai Ji along to the top of the world. In the quiet of the residence, Suchen was suddenly alerted by a noise. His sharp senses picked up the presence of someone approaching. A voice soon followed, calling out tentatively, announcing herself as Xiaochan and questioning if the lady was there. Upon her arrival, Bai Ji questioned why Xiaochan was there. Xiaochan responded with a sense of urgency, explaining that she had overheard a conversation between the substitute master and Yunxian. Concerned about her miss, she felt compelled to relay the information. With a mix of sarcasm and disbelief, Bai Ji pondered if it was a new ploy to reduce her compensation. With a sense of urgency, Xiaochan corrected her, indicating that the situation was far more severe than that. She revealed that the acting master had decided to transfer the project to Yunxian. This would happen as soon as the next day when negotiations with Huan Fenggu were to occur. Shocked by this revelation, Baiji recounted the arduous journey and the painstaking lengths she went to secure an agreement with Gu Zhilin, appalled at the injustice of the decision. Xiao Chan lamented her limited ability to help but insisted that the miss be wary, recognizing the gravity of the situation. Aware of the time and potential danger, Xiao Chan urged the miss to recognize the urgency of their situation, insisting that she must leave to avoid being discovered. With a resigned tone, Baiji reflected on the futility of her efforts, suspecting that the next step would be a concocted excuse to dismiss her from the sect due to a lack of contributions. Unaware of his presence, Su Chen reflected with scorn on the notion of relatives and blood relationships, dismissing them as the most ridiculous concepts in the world. Acknowledging the concern regarding Huan Fenggu as the work that awaits him in the second half of the night, Su Chen resolved himself. Under a luminous moonlight that bathed the serene expanse of water, a pavilion stood quietly amidst the tranquility of the night. The scene shifted to a man, identified as Lin Jiantian, the master of Huangfeng Valley, who sat by the water's edge, lost in thought. His face betrayed a mix of emotions as he strummed a guqin with a melancholic tune. He reminisced about a person named Wanner, whose departure had left a lasting impression on him. Gazing at Wanner's beautiful portrait, Jiantian reflected on their parting conversation where Wanner had told him to let go, a notion that he found impossible to embrace. As he thinks about the faces of those from his past, a cold resolve settles in his heart, momentarily paralyzing his will. He vows a dark oath, promising that one day he will personally step on their doorsteps, walk up to them, and cut off their heads with his own hands. Amidst this train of thought, the sudden appearance of a figure catches Jiantian's attention. As the tranquil waters of the night were disturbed, the confident figure of Su Chen was bravely intercepted by Jiantian. Examining the figure before him, Jiantian's puzzlement increased, finding it odd that the strength of the presence was merely in the realm of profound master, considering that the person managed to cross the sect's protective formation undetected. With a tone of respect and suspicion, Jiantian inquired about the visitor's identity and the purpose of his nocturnal visit to Huangfeng Valley. Gazing at the sky, Su Chen reflected on the urgency of the task, noting the importance of returning before his wifey wakes up. He then returned his gaze to the person before him, dismissing the idea of unnecessary conversation and presenting Jiantian with two stark choices. The first option is for Jiantian to surrender and agree that all future contacts with the Yunlan sword sect must be conducted through Baiji. The second option is a physical confrontation, suggesting that after Jiantian's defeat, he will be compelled to accept the first option regardless. Observing Jiantian's lack of response, Su Chen concluded that since the options presented were not satisfying, there would be cause for regret. Witnessing his strength, Jiantian concluded that Su Chen's display of profound realm aura was fake. However, unshaken and bolstered by his own half-step Lin Xian cultivation, Jiantian stands his ground. Jiantian unleashes his purple thunder technique, successfully breaking Su Chen's attack. Faced with this outcome, Su Chen acknowledges Jiantian's power, although in an arrogant way. With a calm yet stern reminder, Jiantian warned him about the high price of arrogance. Yet, in an instant, Jiantian was taken aback as he realized that Su Chen had vanished without a trace. With an unyielding resolve, Su Chen reappeared, expressing his eagerness to confront the consequences of his arrogance as he delivered the final blow, declaring the end of their confrontation. In the aftermath of the concluded duel, the scene shifts to the peaceful heights of Qixien Peak at Yunlan Sword Sect. Su Chen sat calmly at a table with Baiji as they shared a simple meal. Baiji comments on their financial situation, indicating that their monthly salary has nearly been exhausted. Despite this, she urges Su Chen to eat. However, with a look of mild frustration, Baiji pondered the actions of Qi Shan and his son, realizing that their methods might leave them without even a place to rest. Meanwhile, Su Chen expressed his contentment with a cheerful tone, declaring that eating food prepared by Miss by herself was not a compromise but rather the greatest joy. Observing Su Chen's voracious eating, Baiji couldn't help but remark on his intense hunger, advising him to slow down. She internally wondered if the food was so delicious even though it was just plain noodles. Amidst their meal, Baiji suddenly hears a call for her to come out, leading her to acknowledge that Xiao Chan's prediction was correct. Outside the house, Baiji confidently faced Yun Xian, asserting her territorial authority over Qing Xian's peak and challenging his influence. Facing the annoying blonde with a composed demeanor, Baiji listened intently as he accused her of persistent arrogance. He questioned the duration of her audacity and then proceeded to present her with dismissal documents, effectively claiming ownership over her projects. Absorbing the disheartening situation, Baiji's attention was shifted as Su Qin, with a contented smile, complimented Baiji's culinary skills, expressing satisfaction and admiration for the meal she prepared. Dismissively, Baiji internally acknowledged the incompetence of the person chosen by Qing Shan to be her husband, expressing no surprise at Su Chen's lack of usefulness. However, Su Chen reassured her, asserting confidently that Yun Xian would not succeed in his endeavors, nor would he be able to take control of the Huafeng project. With a hint of irritation, Baiji inquired how Su Chen would know such a thing. Su Chen, with a relaxed and knowing smile, simply suggested her to guess. Unconvinced, Baiji resolved to devise a plan for financial gain. However, Su Chen reassured her with an affectionate gaze, reminding her of his vow not to let her experience any hardship. Flustered, Baiji stutters his name, accusing him of being a rogue. Su Chen laughs heartily in response, playfully challenging her to overcome her fantastical obstacles instead. In the unfolding scene at Huangfeng Valley, the impressive entrance is shown guarded vigilantly by the two stoic guards. Their gaze is fixated on an approaching figure, prompting a stern demand for identification. The figure, revealed to be Yun Xian, exudes confidence as his attendant steps forward, announcing their connection to the Yunlan sword sect and expressing their purpose to negotiate the developments of the Xianling mine with their master. With a threatening tone and an air of importance, Yun Xian's attendant warned the guards of the grave repercussions should their interference lead to a delay in their significant event, insinuating that such a misstep would be costly even if one possessed numerous lives. Taken aback by their claim, one of the guards clarifies that while their orders were to allow someone to discuss the Xianling vein, it was specifically to meet with Miss Baiji, and there was no mention of a blonde bastard. With a mixture of defiance and dismissal, the guards then instructed Yun Xian and his aide to leave the premises immediately. Frustrated by the denied entry, Yun Xian branded the guards as fools. With a mix of sarcasm and condescension, he questioned if this was the manner in which the valley treats its visitors. Despite the tension, he declared he would grant them a chance. With a smug assurance, Yun Xian instructed the guards to inform their master of his arrival, subtly reminding the guards of the potential consequences of their obstruction. Despite the implied threat, the guards remained unimpressed as they proceeded to laugh at his self-importance, mocking the notion that a person from a third-rate sect could take himself so seriously. Angered by their audacity to insult the great milord, Yun Xian lashes out, accusing them of inviting their own death. In an unexpected turn, Yun Xian's aggression is met with a shocking revelation. The figure he has struck is none other than Jiantian himself. Stammering in surprise, Yun Xian questioned the lord's unexpected presence. Jiantian chastised him in response, delivering a painful lesson in humility, a punishment for the lack of discipline his father failed to instill. With absolute authority, Jiantian declared his decision, stating that the terms of the cooperation between Huangfeng Valley and the Yunlan sword sect will only be acknowledged under Baiji's management. As Yun Xian and his attendant make their hasty retreat, Jiantian's sarcastic exclamation cuts through the air, mocking the boldness of the father and son duo. With the presence of the powerful person in the Yunlan sect, Jiantian speculated a significant change under this new influence. Consumed by fury and humiliation, Yun Xian vows vengeance upon Baiji. His bitter curse echoes through the valley, a promise of relentless pursuit and torment. As his words fade into the silent air, the scene shifts away from the aftermath of his wrath. The tranquil scenery of a cozy little house at the Yunlan sword sect is abruptly disrupted by a question of disbelief that hangs in the air. Upon learning of Lin Jiantian's withdrawal from their alliance, Qingshan's simmering anger surfaces as he accusingly places the blame for the disruption on the person standing before him. In the event that Yunxian was at fault, Qingshan decreed that he should seek atonement in the ancestral hall. Confronted with the terrifying prospect of enduring the desolation of the boneless hell alone, Yunxian collapsed to his knees in desperation, earnestly refuting the charges against him. He insisted that Baiji was to blame, expressing his bewilderment at her methods, yet he acknowledged that Jiantian recognized only her. Reflecting on the circumstances, Qingshan admitted to underestimating her. He expressed his concern about the consequences of this knowledge, fearing that his chance to seize power would be jeopardized if the second elder found out. In a moment of uncertainty, Yunxian sought his father's counsel, revealing the morning's events where he had dismissed Baiji. Despite the gravity of the situation, Qingshan questioned Yunxian's apparent anxiety. He handed Yunxian a black tablet, instructing him to seek out Baiji and deliver a specific order. He emphasized that should Baiji reject the directive, Yunxian must act decisively and eliminate her. Shifting the scene under a clear blue sky, a figure is seen knocking on a gate. With no immediate response, Yunxian's attendant informs him that no one appears to be inside. Upon hearing this, Yunxian dismisses the attendant's concern and instructs him to knock down the door instead. Growing impatient, Yunxian then orders the attendant aside, deciding to take matters into his own hands and asserting that destroying the house would not pose a significant issue. Upon confirming the absence of anyone inside, Yunxian suggested entering to wait. Shortly after, two individuals appeared, with one inquiring skeptically about the edibility of something, to which the other confidently affirmed. Baiji questioned if he was sure, and Su Chun responded by boasting about having eaten dragons to survive, questioning if she believed his claim. Baiji expressed her disbelief, asserting that she was not stupid, which prompted Su Chun to laugh, amused by her reaction. In the midst of their conversation, Baiji noticed the broken entrance and pointed it out. However, Su Chun simply dismissed the significance of the damage, prompting Baiji to criticize him for not taking the situation seriously. Wearing an enigmatic grin, Su Chun posed a question to Baiji, asking if she would like to eat something delicious, which seemed to leave her perplexed. He then offered reassurance with a simple instruction for her to remain in place and watch. Shifting his attention towards the house, Su Chun swiftly entered. This prompted Baiji to inquire whether Yunxian was present, a query promptly affirmed by Yunxian's attendant, who announced Su Chen's arrival with a declaration that the drunkard had returned. Seemingly in high spirits, Yunxian excitedly suggests they join together to avenge his broken finger. However, his enthusiasm is abruptly interrupted when Su Chen initiates his own action, causing the attendant to cry out for help. In a desperate attempt to assert his authority, Yunxian claims to bear orders from their sect master, hoping to deter any further conflict. Chaos ensues as Su Chen's forceful kick sends them through the air, eliciting a bewildered expression from Baiji as she witnesses the scene. Following the confrontation, Baiji notices Su Chen eyeing a coin-filled pouch. Despite the damaged door, Su Chen remarks that the pouch's contents are enough for a decent meal. He then questioned the two idiots sprawled on the ground, demanding to know the purpose of their visit. Taking a defiant stance, the attendant brands Su Chen as a drunkard, menacingly declaring his end and promising retribution from the sect master. Unfazed, Su Chen challenges their silence with a taunting remark about a wasted opportunity. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Yunxian's resolve falters as he hastily insists on speaking up, hoping to avert Su Chen's impending action. He discloses that his mission, directed by his father, was to inform Baiji about her returned role in the partnership with Huanfeng Valley. Su Chen recognizes their explanation but promptly points out that their delayed confession cannot alter his already decided course of action. Observing Su Chen's expression, Yunxian becomes aware of the imminent repercussions of their deeds. Overwhelmed with panic, Yunxian urges escape, dreading further punishment from Su Chen. Concurrently, Su Chen issues an ultimatum: without Qingshan's personal engagement in the matter, no further dialogue will occur, stressing they have only a day to comply. Observing Su Chen with growing concern, while he mocks the audacity of the duo, Baiji firmly grips his hand as she drags him indoors. She strongly advises him to leave, emphasizing that he has now provoked both Yun Xian and his father. Acknowledging the slim chance that Su Chen would be spared, Baiji took out a small pouch and admitted that while it didn't contain much money, it was all she had saved up. In a moment of realization, she remembered a pair of bracelets her late mother had left her. Despite its significance, she decided to keep one for herself and offer the other to Su Chen, suggesting he could exchange it for a significant amount of money to sustain him for a prolonged period. Touched by the gesture, Su Chen found himself admiring her kindness. Grasping her hand tenderly, Su Chen reassured her, reminding her of his commitment to her protection. However, Baiji's concerns surfaced again as she pondered Su Chen's chances against them, blaming herself for drawing him into this predicament. With a dismissive and confident air, Su Chen declared his indifference to the threats posed by Qin Shan or any formidable foe, even if it were the 9 heavenly dragons or the Vajrashura. Seeking affirmation, Baiji asked if Su Chen's declaration was genuine. He responded with a no, sparking a teasing exchange that concluded with his playful suggestion to have a meal before their next round of banter. Following their playful interaction, the scene transitions to a new location. The very elder that Qin Shan sees as a threat, the second elder, Dugu Yan, is introduced standing solemnly within a courtyard. His attention is captured by a bird arriving with a paper, a secret message from a spy within the Huanfeng Valley. As Dugu Yan reads the message, a revelation comes to light. The message details Yun Xian being slapped by Zhantian and Baiji's pivotal role in their alliance with the Huanfeng Valley. This revelation seems to amuse him greatly, declaring it a fortune in his favor. His face twists into a sly grin as he muses about Qingshan's next move, clearly pleased with the advantage he now possesses. Within the Yunlan Sword Sect's imposing main hall, a heavy atmosphere hangs. With his voice laden with accusation, Dugu Yan demanded an explanation from the acting sect master. Echoing Dugu Yan's sentiment, 4th Elder Murong Bo, with a steely resolve, warns that if the actions of Yun Xian hinder their sect's prospects with Huanfeng Valley, he in his capacity as an elder, will not hesitate to enforce strict disciplinary measures. Qin Shan, seated regally on the hall's throne, tightens his grip into a fist as another member expresses his views. This elder offers a poignant metaphor about the consequences of incompetence in leadership roles, his gaze pointedly shifting towards the acting sect master. Faced with these confrontations, Qin Shan breaks his silence with a steely gaze. Addressing the demands of the 3 aggressive elders, he declares his intent to provide them with the explanation they seek. Then, with authoritative resolve, Qin Shan sets a decisive timeline, announcing that within 3 days, the Yunlan Sword faction and the Huangfeng Valley will finalize all matters before formalizing their cooperation. Should this not happen, he boldly states that he will decline the sect master's position. Upon hearing this decisive statement, the 3 elders exhibit smiles of anticipation. Wasting no time, Dugu Yan acknowledged the acting sect master's stance, asserting that they will all witness the developments of the next 3 days with keen interest. However, as the group of elders departs, Dugu Yan decisively opposes the idea of granting Qin Shan any leeway. He contemplates Baiji's historical emotional distance from their circle, which leads him to the decision that she must not become a key factor in Qingshan's agreement with Huangfeng Valley. This thought process culminates in his final decision, a grim resolution to eliminate Baiji. Acknowledging the 4th elder's profound knowledge of the 3 teachings and 9 streams, Dugu Yan entrusted him with the task at hand. The 4th elder acknowledges this responsibility with a bow, assuring that Baiji will not survive the night. Their exchange concluded with a mutual understanding, as Dugu Yan expressed approval of the course of action. Enclosed by the serene atmosphere of Great Wilderness City, Su Chen and Baiji share a day marked by playful affection, a companionable walk, and a meal, hinting at a date in the embrace of the city. As the sun begins to set, Baiji expresses a gentle sorrow at the passage of time, noting how quickly it seems to pass. Su Chen responds with reassuring warmth, offering a promise to revisit the place whenever she wishes. Under the cloak of night set against a backdrop of towering mountains, Su Chen found amusement in Baiji's peaceful sleep. As he glances back towards her, Su Chen observes her weary state, noting that she seems to be tired. At this moment, an unexpected presence down the path suddenly catches his attention. With his spear and gourd beside him, a lone figure sits at ease upon a log that blocks the path. As the carriage comes into view, the person declares the arrival of what he calls his god of wealth. Seemingly intrigued by the figure's audacity, Suchin steps down from the carriage, considering the person's actions imprudent under the cover of night. With a focused and swift motion, Suchin hurls a stone with considerable force. Maintaining an unperturbed composure, the person nonchalantly directs an opposing energy to neutralize the projectile. Despite acknowledging the person's skill, Suchin charges at him with great speed, warning him that he is messing with the wrong person. Courting death, the person shouted in response, as they both prepared to clash and escalate their confrontation. The battle was intense, resulting in a massive crater from their powerful exchange. Amidst the aftermath, the person realized his mistake, internally cursing at the fourth elder's inaccurate information. Confronted with Suchin's true strength, the person addressed him with realization, acknowledging his realm to be also that of a profound master. Standing amid the remnants of their clash, Suchin addresses his opponent with a confident smile, suggesting it's not too late for him to seek mercy. Dismissing the misplaced mercy with a laugh, the person asks rhetorically if Suchin knows who he's talking to. Seemingly amused by the irony of the question, Suchin snickers as he delivers a striking blow. The impact of his strike elicits a pained outcry from his opponent, who is sent tumbling to the ground in a sudden, uncontrolled fall. He then declares his indifference to the person's identity, emphasizing that even his instigator is of no concern to him. Fueled by the belittling outcome and Suchin's condescending remarks, the fallen figure's face twisted in rage. He tightened his hold on the chain, launching the gourd with an intensity that cut through the air, intent on striking his opponent. As Suchin summoned his sword, a smile played upon his lips while he remarks on the opportunity his foe failed to grasp. Determining that mercy would no longer be afforded, his hand moves with decisive swiftness, conjuring a blazing arc of energy. In a flash of radiant power, Suchin's strike collides with the gourd, erupting into a fiery spectacle that captures the fierce clash. Fueled by vengeance for his destroyed soul weapon, the figure lunges forward with lethal intent, declaring his intention to kill. However, in an instant, confusion strikes him as Suchin disappears from his sight, only to appear at his side, coldly remarking that he was slow. A streak of fiery light slices through the darkness as Suchin's counterattack ignites the night. Wasting no time, he then cuts through the tree log blocking the road, declaring that each hindrance, deemed an eyesore, shall be methodically removed, one after another. He then quietly opens the carriage curtain to check on Baiji, ensuring her peace remains undisturbed by the night's disturbance. With a tender smile, Suchin turns away from the silent testament of his recent clash. Their journey continues, undeterred by the fallen foe left in the aftermath of his protection. Shifting to a serene domestic scene, Yunxian voices a concern laced with the weight of impending time, suggesting another dialogue with Baiji. Qin Shan replied with certainty, assuring that there was no necessity for that. Confused, Yunxian sought clarification, repeating the notion of no need as a question. With a knowing smile, Qin Shan told him that the time was near, noting that he would soon understand. Lost in his musings, Qin Shan expresses indifference to Baiji's dubious connections with Lin Jiantian, perceiving it as a plot against him. Undeterred, Qin Shan retrieves a jade sound transmission, confidently declaring his readiness to expose the true nature of a genuine connection. In the soft emission of the pendant, an old man responds to his call, inquiring about his purpose for sniffing around, interrupting his brief moments of peace after a long seclusion. Qin Shan laughs in response, promising to be honest. He acknowledges the elder's deep bond with Jiantian, the master of Huangfeng Valley, highlighting the legacy of their long-standing collaboration. As Elder Yan occupies himself with the girl by his side, Qin Shan reveals the details of the joint endeavor with Huangfeng Valley concerning the Xianling mine. Despite Baiji's interference, he discloses that Jiantian's favor toward her remains unchanged. While the elder continued flirting with the girl in the background, Qin Shan requested him to pull some strings and make the deal happen. He mentioned that after the matter is settled, he will personally come to his door and give him the cold spring sword. With a glint of eagerness in his eyes, the elder inwardly expresses his long-held desire for the cold spring sword. His jovial demeanor surfaces as he playfully questions the nature of their conversation, now finding interest in it. The elder assured Qin Shan, promising earnestly that he would fulfill the task at hand and communicate the outcome with a message. In response, Qin Shan conveyed his anticipation, eager to hear the positive tidings that would follow the elder's actions. As the circular jade device falls silent, Qin Shan remarks on the elder's tactical prudence, likening him to an old fox who releases the hawk only at the sight of the hare. Yet he concedes that if they can successfully execute their plan, the relinquishment of the cold spring sword and any other spirit weapons would be a small price to pay. Yunxian interjects with a forward-looking statement, expressing his certainty that cooperation would pave for Qin Shan to rise to the position of sect master. He confidently proclaims his anticipation of the success of their plan, asserting his belief in the solidity of Qin Shan's forthcoming rule. This is followed by a hearty laugh from Qin Shan, emphasizing the certainty with which he regards their unchallenged ascent to dominance. Outside their residence, Yunxuan's voice resurfaces as he provides an assurance, proclaiming that the Yunlan sword sect will undoubtedly prosper under Qin Shan's leadership. Qin Shan, with a laugh that conveys both warmth and pride, acknowledges his son's expression of faith, affirming the bond and esteem Yunxian holds for him. Their exchange is suddenly interrupted by the sound of mystical energy transmission. Recognizing the sound, Yunxian suggests that it signifies the elder's completion of the task. Turning his thoughts to Bai Ji, Qin Shan speaks with a tone of disappointment and admonition, reflecting on the squandered opportunity she was given. Amidst the swirling smoke of the jade device, Qin Shan acknowledges Elder Yan's renowned efficiency. He inquires about Zhantian's response, demonstrating his interest in the conveyed information. Cloaked in shadows and with an air of solemnity, Elder Yan responds with a confrontational edge to his voice. Taken aback by the unexpected response, Qin Shan can only react in confusion. Elder Yan, with a countenance distorted by rage, vehemently accuses Qin Shan of grossly insulting Zhantian and committing a betrayal against him personally. His fury is palpable as he recounts how he aided with all his sincerity, only for Lin Zhantian to abruptly sever their labor management collaboration without saying a word. With determined fury, he warns that this offense will not be dismissed lightly. As the smoky energy fades from the jade, Qin Shan sits with a blend of disbelief and contemplation. He struggles to comprehend the unexpected closeness between Lin Zhantian and Bai Ji, a connection that puzzles him deeply. Engulfed in stunned silence, the echoes of his past assertions resound within him. Overwhelmed by the weight of the situation, he covers his face, a gesture that captures the gravity of his realization and the uncertainty of his next move. Shrouded in the shadow of anger and frustration, Qin Shan's contemplation is suddenly broken as Yunxian calls him with urgency. With a heavy sense of resignation about the serious situation they face, Qin Shan recognizes that they only have one viable option. He implores Yunxian to accompany him to Qinxian Peak, emphasizing that, should it be necessary to kneel, they must do so to gain Bai Ji's agreement. In the tension-filled room, Yunxian, marked by a combination of sincerity and concern, seeks clarity from his father on the matter of submission. He firmly dismisses the idea, declaring that kneeling before her is out of the question. In the heat of the moment, Qin Shan lashes out with a fierce slap to Yunxuan's face, his own expression contorted with emotion. Shocked and hurt, Yunxian confronts his father with a pained expression, demonstrating a hint of defiance. However, upon seeing his father's contorted expression, Yunxuan's initial defiance dissolves as he affirms his submission to his father's will. Under the starry night at Qinxian Peak, the focus returns to Yunxian and his father. Yunxian reveals his physical discomfort, informing his father that his legs are numb. Qin Shan, resolute beside him, provides no solace, instead issuing a directive that Yunxian must endure this state until Bai Ji grants him forgiveness. As Yunxian clenches his fist, the sudden torrent of memories engulfs him with recollections of his past struggles and humiliations at the hands of Su Qin, Zhantian, and even his father. Attributing the root of his suffering to Bai Ji, Yunxuan's gaze hardens with determination as he vows to return the treatment he has endured 1,000 times over. Demonstrating her excessive kindness, Baiji urged Yunxian to rise, offering her forgiveness readily. Initially surprised, Qin Shan prompts his son to show appreciation for his cousin's leniency. Yunxian complies with his father's guidance, voicing thanks to his cousin for her act of forgiveness, despite the probable lack of sincerity behind his words. Watching from afar, Suqin muses on Baiji's leniency, noting how swiftly she has forgiven those who have wronged her for over a decade. Despite this, he asserts her independence, making it clear that under his watch, no harm will come to her. In the meantime, Baiji suggests it's time for her uncle to leave, signaling the end of the evening's events. Acknowledging her suggestion, Qin Shan agrees to depart, promising to keep her updated on their collaborative efforts with Huangfeng Valley as soon as possible. With the departure of all the visitors, Baiji engages the locks for the night, her mind cautiously optimistic about her uncle's potential transformation. Meanwhile, Suqin lingers in the side, his thoughts cast back to earlier events, the intoxicated man and Yunxuan's intense expression. He muses to himself, reflecting on the naivety of such hope in a merciless world, acknowledging those who walk a fine line, unaware of their precarious dance between life and death. Filled with a steely resolve, Suqin internally declares his stance, vowing that no matter the stature of his enemies, be it the king of heaven or the king of hell, if they dare to cross him, he will not let them escape retribution. In the hushed ambience of the night, the fourth elder breaks the silence with an update, informing Duguyen that the assassination attempt they had planned has not succeeded. Taken aback by the news, Duguyen repeated his word. Voicing his thoughts aloud, the fourth elder wonders how Baiji managed not only to survive but also to eliminate Xu Mu, who he described as a drunken assassin at the fifth realm of Profound Master. In a state of disbelief, Duguyen contemplates how Baiji could counterattack given her lack of cultivation. He considers it even more improbable for her husband, characterized as an alcoholic, to be capable of such an act. As the realization dawns upon him, Duguyen's suspicion shifts to a person by the name of Bai Muxing. The fourth elder's reaction is marked by a burst of clarity as he exclaims, recognizing Bai Muxing as Baiji's deceased father and the former sect master. Reflecting on the situation, Duguyen reasons that Muxing's involvement is the sole rational conclusion to the recent events. Acknowledging Muxing's known capabilities, he deduces that such an intervention would not have posed a significant challenge for him. He muses on the unexpectedness of facing a challenge from Muxing, whom he had presumed gone from this world, a notion that now compels him to reassess the situation. With a sense of urgency, the fourth elder consults Duguyen for the next course of action. Duguyen assured him, advising against alarm and suggesting they adhere to their original strategy. He proposes allowing Qin Shan to proceed with his current endeavors for a few more days. On the same evening, a discussion unfolds between father and son, disclosing Zhantian's anticipated visit to their sect at dawn. Yunxian greets the news with optimism, suggesting that a successful cooperation could firmly secure his father's role as sect master. In response to the upcoming event, Qin Shan instructs Yunxian to prepare the sect for an assembly in the main hall at dawn. Confused, Yunxian questioned his father if he truly wanted to gather the sect members 2 hours ahead of time. With his hand obstructing his expression, Qin Shan confirms the decision without revealing his thoughts. He further instructs him to convey that Baiji will be sharing insights on how she managed to collaborate with Huangfeng Valley. Additionally, he instructed Yunxian to inform Baiji half an hour before Zhantian's arrival. Qin Shan's demeanor shifts as he orders his seat to be offered to Baiji, positioning her as an equal to Master Lin in the upcoming meeting. He then directs the propagation of a rumor to link Baiji romantically with Lin Zhantian. Despite grasping the tactical nature of the previous instruction, Yunxian finds himself confounded by the rationale behind offering Baiji such a prominent seat, openly expressing his bewilderment to his father. Cloaked in malevolence, Qin Shan unveils the final thread of his plan, employing well-intended praising as a weapon, a deceptive tactic where apparent flattery may set them up to be destroyed. As morning light graces the Yunlan sword sect, perched atop a mountain, Its grand architecture comes into full view along with a sizable gathering of individuals at its base. One individual conveys eagerness about learning from their senior sister by on the subject of forming alliances with a prominent sect. He also shares his enthusiasm about the opportunity to meet Master Lin, whom he regards as his idol, in the upcoming hour. Among the people standing amidst the crowd, an individual's impatience surfaces as he inquires about Baiji's whereabouts, highlighting that half an hour has already passed. Another voices dissatisfaction, criticizing the situation as misleading. Meanwhile, someone else speculates that had Baiji chosen not to attend, a prior warning would have been appreciated to avoid this unwarranted wait. Someone from the back echoes their sentiment, while another shares rumors of her close relationship with Master Lin. This rumor sparks a reaction from a third person who accuses Baiji of using others' status for personal advantage. He expresses dismay over the implication of Master Zhantian's seating arrangement, which seems to elevate Baiji's position. Overhearing the crowd's discontent, Yunxian allows himself a knowing smile as he grasps his father's subtle intention to tarnish Baiji's reputation among the sect members, thereby entangling her future within the sect in difficulties. With the arrival of Master Lin imminent in just half an hour, Qin Shan directs Yunxian to call for Baiji, indicating that the timing is sufficient. Yunxian acknowledges his father's order with a dutiful affirmation. Distancing himself with a sound transmission symbol in hand, Yunxian contemplates the futility of Baiji's endeavors. He reflects on the reality that her assistance in any alliance between factions will not yield personal gain due to the prevailing animosity towards her. Furthermore, he acknowledges that such an alliance will only solidify his father's standing as the sect master. Yunxian, through the medium of a sound transmission symbol, communicates urgently to Baiji. He informs her that in half an hour, Valley Master Lin is expected to arrive at the main peak to discuss a cooperative venture. He emphasizes the critical nature of her prompt arrival, indicating that any delay could have consequences beyond his ability to shield her, not even with the might of celestial beings on their side. Upon hearing this, Baiji reflects on her sustained efforts to lead the cooperation. She ponders whether her hard work has genuinely earned the approval of Master Lin. With a sense of urgency, Baiji rushes forward, stressing to Su Chen the critical nature of their timely arrival. Aware that the sect had been informed of Zhantian's imminent arrival since the prior evening, Su Chen ponders over the meticulous timing of Qingshan's disclosure. His features settle into a knowing smirk, voicing his readiness to engage in the game that Qingshan has set in motion. Employing a mystical method of communication, Su Chen's proposal for Zhantian to arrive early at the venue was promptly met with a concise and affirmative response. As the scene unfolds at the sect's main peak, Dugi Yen offers a veiled provocation, feigning concern over the absence of the expected central character, Baiji, noting the advancing time. In response, Qin Shan, with a demeanor unfazed by the jab, confidently asserts that Baiji will indeed make her entrance before Master Lin arrives, addressing the provocation with assurance. Sensing an unmistakable presence, Qin Shan and Dugi Yen turn their attention skyward, recognizing the distinct aura of Master Lin. The unexpected arrival ahead of schedule prompts a surprised reaction from Qin Shan, who questions how Master Lin could have appeared earlier than anticipated. The scene unfolds with a breathtaking ship, descending gracefully amidst the towering peaks. Gasps and murmurs ripple through the crowd, speculating whether this could be the legendary Green Cloud boat, a revered spirit vessel with the rare capability to carry passengers through the skies. As it approaches the Yunlan Sword sect, its presence becomes a testament to the prestige of Huangfeng Valley, the origin of such a remarkable and scarce flying profound vessel. Marked by a trail of mystical energy, Zhantian's arrival at the Yunlan sect is met with a ceremonious welcome. Qin Shan, with the poise befitting his station, extends a dignified reception to the distinguished representatives from Huangfeng Valley. However, amidst the cordial greetings, Zhantian's inquiry about Baiji's whereabouts highlighted her significance to the day's events, instigating visible tension from the acting sect master. Qin Shan, maintaining his composure, assured the esteemed guest that Baiji was en route, suggesting Master Lin take a seat while they awaited her arrival. Seeking confirmation, Zhantian questions if Baiji is truly on the way. Perceiving the question as an indication of Jiantian's growing impatience, Qin Shan internally braces for the repercussions. He questions if Baiji's delay is intentional, leading him to mentally vow decisive action should this lead to conflict in cooperation. Observing Qin Shan's palpable disquiet, Dugu Yan's features betray a subtle amusement. He deems his prior interventions unnecessary, recognizing Baiji's absence as not a mistake but a deliberate ploy. He internally scoffs at the notion of alliance, now perceiving it as a far-fetched optimism given the perceived turbulence. In the midst of the tension, Qin Shan instructed Yun Xian to personally extend an invitation to Baiji, hoping to alleviate the situation. However, Jiantian dismisses the suggestion decisively, expressing his willingness to wait for Baiji himself, a statement that surprises the trio. Shifting the scene to the figure of Baiji and Su Qin as they make their way through the lush greenery, Baiji urges him to hurry, warning of Master Lin's possible harsh nature. Despite Baiji's pressing concern, Su Qin voiced his confidence that Master Lin wouldn't dare reprimand them. Unconvinced, Baiji dragged him by the hand, remaining insistent on the need for urgency. In the tranquility of the scene, the lingering smoke from an extinguished incense stick subtly marks the passage of time. The perspective then shifts to reveal its location, the center of the main peak where the meeting will be held. There, a group of onlookers comments on the delayed arrival of Baiji. One voices his disapproval, suggesting that her actions are disrespectful to Master Lin. The group shares a sense of eager anticipation for whatever disciplinary measures may be imposed upon her, suggesting that a more severe punishment would be fitting after their extended wait through the morning. In the tense atmosphere, Qin Shan issues a dire warning to Yun Xian, his voice heavy with the threat of violence should their collaboration fall apart. The gravity of his words hangs in the air, met with a weighted silence that speaks volumes. Overcome with a mix of fear and defiance, Yun Xian silently lashes out with harsh words, accusing Baiji of relentless persecution, almost as if she won't rest until he meets his demise. Upon Baiji's entrance, Yun Xuan's expression betrays a sense of smug anticipation, ready to observe the consequences she would face from Master Lin. However, as Baiji presents her apologies for the delay, Master Lin's gracious response, acknowledging the honor of her presence without need for excuses, completely overturns everyone's expectations. Yun Xian, alongside the gathered crowd, is taken aback by this unforeseen display of leniency, the tension dissolving into a shared moment of astonishment. With disbelief etched on their faces, one individual openly expresses astonishment at Master Lin's unexpected display of honor towards Baiji, questioning the reality of what he just heard. Another ponders the significance of such respect from the figure whom even the acting sect master would not dare to disregard, leading him to question if the rumors of Baiji having an affair with Master Lin might indeed be true. As Master Lin courteously offers to continue their conversation in the hall, recognizing Baiji's hurried arrival and apparent weariness, a hint of amusement plays on Su Chen's features as Baiji processes the unexpected turn of events with a mix of confusion and realization. She then agreed to Jiantian's suggestion, her posture reflecting a mix of respect and a subtle readiness to engage in the discussions ahead. As the group proceeds towards the hall, the grandeur and the sheer size of the sect's structure come into focus. Noticing the hand blocking their way, Qin Shan seeks clarification from Master Lei about the nature of his gesture. With a commanding presence, Hua Lei firmly tells Qin Shan that the discussion is to be exclusively with Baiji, suggesting that his presence would be an unwelcome disturbance. Clearly agitated, Yun Xian confronts his father, demanding to know why they are being barred from the main hall, a place he asserts as their own. His frustration intensifies knowing that Su Qin, whom he scornfully refers to as a madman, has been granted entry. Speaking with a probing tone, Hua Lei comments on the dissatisfaction expressed by Yun Xian and subtly questions Master Bai's commitment, implying that there might be a deeper reluctance to collaborate with them. Directing a harsh reprimand towards his son, Qin Shan commanded Yun Xian to be silent, his authority unquestionable and the sharpness of his tone, prompting Yun Xian into a reluctant silence. Attempting to smooth over the situation, Qin Shan turns to address Hua Lei, his words measured and deliberate as he seeks to downplay his son's reaction, emphasizing the respect and honor underpinning their alliance with the valley. Acknowledging his claim with a nod, Hua Lei proposes a compromise, suggesting they all concede to the protocols of the situation and wait patiently outside the hall. In the midst of the grand hall, Baiji inquired whether further adjustments were necessary for their cooperation agreement, ensuring that all terms were mutually satisfactory. With a note of concern in his voice, Jiantian responded to the inquiry, questioning if it was indeed the intention of their sect to claim a 50% share, a significant portion that seemed to demand reconsideration. Baiji responded, acknowledging that while she too deemed the demand excessive, the sect leader's insistence on an equal share was unwavering. Voicing her appreciation, Baiji highlighted the pragmatic truth of their situation, conceding that without Master Lin's support, the prospect of mining the vein would be an opportunity far beyond their reach. However, upon meeting Su Chen's meaningful gaze, Jiantian immediately softens his stance. He concedes with a strategic generosity, suggesting that for the sake of Ms. Baiji's emphasis on a harmonious partnership, he is willing to adjust their agreement further, offering a more favorable share to Baiji's faction. Baiji, showing apprehension and a flicker of uncertainty, hesitates as she absorbs the gravity of the generous offer laid before her. Attempting to hide his reluctance and maintain a facade of control, Jiantian declares his decision with a sense of finality. He instructs Baiji to retrieve the seal of approval from Qin Shan, implying that there are still formalities yet to be honored. As Baiji departed to stamp the seal, the room fell into a deep quiet, broken only by the soft thud of the closing door. In the ensuing stillness, Su Chen instructed Jiantian to sit. Jiantian responded without delay, his movements swift and unhesitant as he complied. Acknowledging his growth, Su Chen commended the evident improvement in Jiantian's abilities. Attributing his advancement to the soul-nourishing pill formula bestowed upon him by Su Chen, Jiantian expressed his gratitude. Without this pivotal aid, he believed he might have remained stagnant at the soul-profound 4th level for the rest of his life. With an expression that seems to challenge Jiantian's perspective, Su Chen casually tosses a crumpled piece of paper to him. Unfolding the unexpected gift, Jiantian's expression transformed from curiosity to awe. Inscribed on the paper was the formula for the Ascension Spirit Pill, a legendary catalyst capable of assisting those in the 9th realm of the soul profound cultivation to break free from the shackles and ascend to the profound spirit realm. Deeply moved, Jiantian vowed to never forget Su Chen's kindness, emphasizing the depth of his gratitude. However, with a dismissive tone, Su Chen made it clear that such a vow was unnecessary to him. Instead, he encouraged Jiantian to simply focus on his duties, prompting a response of compliance from Jiantian, who pledged to retain this directive in mind. Upon being instructed to rise, Jiantian was firmly reminded by Su Chen of the importance of maintaining the confidentiality of his identity. In response, Jiantian assured with a respectful gesture that he would adhere to a strict silence regarding the knowledge entrusted to him. Subsequently, upon re-entering the hall, Baiji extended her thanks to Master Lin, projecting anticipation for their future collaboration. Master Lin, now devoid of any hesitation, declared it a privilege for Huangfeng Valley to collaborate with Ms. Baiji. With the agreement sealed, Jiantian signaled his readiness to leave. Baiji proposed to see him out, but Jiantian declined, recommending instead that delegates from Qin Shan undertake this courtesy, alluding to additional matters he planned to address with them. Honoring his preference, Baiji courteously withdrew from Master Lin's presence. Shifting the scene outside the hall, Jiantian spoke candidly to Master Bai. He acknowledged that Baiji was the one who had initiated their cooperative endeavor, suggesting that she should oversee the mining operations. He cautioned Qin Shan not to entertain any thoughts of undermining her authority. The basis of Jiantian's warning lay in circulating rumors about the 5th elder of Master Bai's faction, tasked with financial oversight, allegedly embezzling a significant portion of Baiji's salary. Caught off guard by these accusations, Qin Shan feigned ignorance, inquiring if there were indeed such allegations. Despite expressing uncertainty about the veracity of the rumors, Jiantian reiterates his stance to Master Bai, stating that if the 5th elder continues to remain in Yunlan Mountain even for a single additional day, he would have to reconsider whether someone else is more appropriate for the role of sect master. After exchanging a courteous farewell with Master Lin, Qin Shan instructed Yun Xian to summon his fifth uncle to Qin Shan's residence. Yun Xian, displaying concern, pondered whether Qin Shan would actually consider expelling his fifth uncle solely on the basis of Jiang Tian's statements. In a solemn exchange, Qin Shan steadies his son, impressing upon him the weight of their current predicament. Qin Shan assures him that their harsh course of action, while difficult, will be understood by his fifth uncle, signaling the necessity for unwavering resolve. Gazing towards the sky, Qin Shan reflects on his actions, affirming his commitment to his decisions today as foundational for the aspirations he holds for the future. In the hushed confines of a secluded room, the remnants of a shattered cup lay scattered on the floor as Gao Ming, the fifth elder, sought confirmation from Qin Shan about the validity of his news. Amidst the somber atmosphere, Qin Shan faced Gao Ming, recognizing the difficulty of what he was asking. He expressed that their long-standing relationship, akin to brotherhood, was not overlooked, but the circumstances necessitated Gao Ming's departure from his position. In a tone tinged with desperation, Gao Ming inquired if there was any possibility for negotiation. However, with a firm and decisive demeanor, Qin Shan accuses Bai Ji of orchestrating their current predicament, with Jiang Tian as the instrument of their current dilemma. He made an appeal to Gao Ming's sense of reason, articulating the formidable nature of Huangfeng Valley and its insurmountable stature, something their Yuan sword sect could not afford to provoke. Having imparted these final words, Qin Shan directed Gao Ming to leave the mountain, marking the end of their dialogue. Left alone, Gao Ming clenched his fists, a silent testament to his anger and unspoken plans for retaliation against Bai Ji. Settling back into the serenity of their home, Yun Xian turned to his father, expressing confusion about the mysterious ties between Bai Ji and Lin Jiangtian. In a tone echoing his son's perplexity, Qin Shan acknowledged the enigma, drawing attention to the formidable Huangfeng Valley, a dominant force across the wasteland that Bai Ji now possesses as an ally. Seized by a sudden realization, a figure comes into his mind as he questions the possibility. Despite the lack of details, Qin Shan commanded Yun Xian to delve into the matter without delay, prompting Yun Xian to seek clarification. In a solemn tone, Qin Shan instructed his son to scrutinize every aspect of Bai Ji's recent history, including his late uncle Muxing's life. Perplexed by this directive, Yun Xian struggled to connect the dots between the long-gone Muxing and Jiang Tian's current opposition towards them. Despite his uncertainty, Qin Shan maintained it as the only plausible explanation. He advised Yun Xian to maintain a low profile, which Yun Xian promptly affirmed, pledging to initiate an investigation immediately. Engulfed in deep reflection, Qin Shan mulled over the lingering influence of Muxing, whose schemes seemed to linger even almost a decade after his passing. Yet, with a resolute expression, he silently vowed to cut down any obstacle, vowing not to falter in his resolve against any who dared stand in his way. Shifting the scene to the tranquility of their abode amidst their task, Bai Ji found herself ruminating on the enigmatic nature of Suqin, contrasting the man before her with the tales of a notorious drunken beggar that circulated among the townspeople. Caught in her thoughts, Bai Ji's memories of their past interactions painted a confusing picture, one where the man rumored as a reckless drunkard stood in stark contrast to the calm and steady Suqin she knew. This contradiction made her wonder even more about who he really was. Attempting to grasp this discrepancy, Bai Ji sought answers from Suqin, who welcomed her inquiry. With some hint of hesitance, she questioned if he was really a beggar. She assured him that her question was out of curiosity rather than disdain, mentioning that her curiosity is rooted in Master Lin's deferential glances towards him as if to be seeking his opinion. With a casual demeanor, Suqin disclosed a pivotal moment from his past, where he had been the lifeline that Master Lin clung to in a desperate time, implying that without his intervention, Master Lin might not have survived. Despite her skepticism, Bai Ji expressed her interest in hearing the details of how he had rescued Master Lin. Coming up with a story, Suqin explained that his aid came through sharing the recipe for a luminous spirit pill, a secret he stumbled upon in his days as a beggar, which was crucial for Master Lin's continued martial training. Remaining skeptical, Bai Ji questioned the authenticity of Suqin's claim, given the rarity and value of the luminous spirit pill, let alone its recipe. Despite this, Su Qin insisted on the truthfulness of his story. While not entirely convinced, Baiji acknowledged the tale's intrigue and suggested celebrating their new partnership with a shared meal. Revealing his preference, Su Qin inquired if there was any meat on the menu. Baiji confirmed, noting her willingness to spare no expense despite the delayed salary, which Su Qin interpreted as a gesture of his wife's affection. In this playful and intimate moment, Baiji allowed him to address her affectionately. Su Qin eagerly accepted, referring to her as his beloved wife. Despite Baiji's concern about others overhearing, Su Qin maintained his enthusiasm, citing his lack of concern. Shifting the scene to the bustling wilderness city, Baiji shared a personal moment as she reminisced about her father and their visits to this place. However, she notes that since her father's passing, her visits have become infrequent. Recognizing the place's emotional weight, Su Qin reassured her, offering his company whenever she desired to return. Feeling shy from his gesture, Baiji stood up from her seat. She remarked on the crowded surroundings and advised him to remain seated, mentioning that she would take care of the bill. With a warm smile, the owner fondly greeted her, mentioning that it had been a while since she had visited the place and questioned if it was still to her liking. Baiji responded affirmatively, noting that the elder's cooking is as good as ever. Amidst their conversation, an unexpected voice interrupted, offering to cover Baiji's financial obligations, promising to settle the debt later. Recognizing the speaker as Li Zhuang, the elder expressed doubt due to his history of unpaid debts. Angered by the skepticism, Li Zhuang silenced the elder, threatening repercussions if she did not comply, causing the elder to look concerned. Despite the interruption, Baiji insisted on paying her own expenses, asserting that she did not know Li Zhuang. Amidst the ongoing spectacle, one of the onlookers expressed his interest in joining in, citing his impulsive desire for Baiji. One of his companions voiced his opposition, expressing his own desire to pursue Baiji. Returning to the conflict, Li Zhuang expressed his elevated eagerness due to Baiji's temper. With evident apprehension, Baiji demanded him to leave, insisting on not being acquainted with him. Not backing down, Li Zhuang questioned her demand, hinting at territorial ownership and suggesting accompanying him instead for a safer and more enjoyable time. With a face that only a mother could love, Li Zhuang reached out his hand and poised for a kiss, assuring that he would be gentle. However, upon touching a hand that seemed unexpectedly large, his scream of pain soon followed as Su Qin revealed it was his hand. Angered by Li Zhuang's daringness to touch his wife, Su Qin struck him on the liver and sent him crashing to the ground, labeling his action as seeking death, eliciting a surprised reaction from the onlookers. With the unwelcome presence resolved, Su Qin invited Baiji to leave. However, one of the previous onlookers stood up, questioning if he gave them permission to leave. Approaching the couple, the man admonished Su Qin for leaving after the altercation. One of his companions chimed in, asserting that the matter was not over unless Baiji drank with them. With a lecherous expression, the other individual offered false reassurance, stating that the three of them had no ill intentions towards her. Deeming the trio as insignificant and reckless, Su Qin resolved to send them to their demise. However, before he could take action, a chair suddenly flew past his side, crashing into one of the trio's face and causing the other to be elbowed. Overcome by urgency, Baiji grabbed Su Qin by the hand, urging for an immediate departure. Angered by the sudden intervention, one of the trio promised retribution, while the other demanded that they halt. Amidst their escape from the pursuers, Su Qin found Baiji's boldness quite surprising. With a worried expression, Baiji informed him of her intention to accelerate, advising him to stay close. Clearly understated, Baiji charged forward like an angry bull, quickly putting distance between them and their pursuers. Taken aback by her speed, Su Qin's initially surprised expression swiftly morphed into one of perplexity, as Baiji escalated her pace further. As the evening fell deeper, Su Qin and Baiji found themselves on a bridge illuminated by lanterns. Upon catching her breath, Baiji expressed her gained perspective on Su Qin's tendency to resort to physical confrontation at the slightest provocation. Intrigued by Baiji's observation, Su Qin asked for clarification. Acknowledging its appeal, Baiji expressed her regret for not being more combative with their previous opponents. Seeing her in a new light, Suchin found himself amused and somewhat impressed by her formidable temper. Baiji agreed to his statement, her demeanor momentarily reflecting her approval. However, a fleeting memory of her father swept over her, transforming her expression into one of sorrow. Distracted by the shimmering lights around them, Baiji's gaze wandered. With the sky bursting with colors and sound, Suchin remarked on the rarity of such a sight, admitting it had been a while since he had seen fireworks. With a hint of excitement in her voice, Baiji likened the experience to celebrating her birthday a day earlier. In this moment of brilliant display, Baiji and Suchin enjoyed the simple pleasure of watching the fireworks together. As their visit to the city drew to a close, Suchin and Baiji made their way back to the stables to retrieve their horse. Upon returning a numbered plate, Suchin called out to an old man, who greeted him with a kind smile. The elder promptly led Suchin inside, inviting him to follow. Once inside, they located their horse, but the elder suggested it might be time for a replacement. He mentioned the Datong horse market as an option for finding a new steed, should Suchin be interested. Intrigued, Suchin asked for more details about the market. In a moment of openness, the elder revealed that his daughter had recently started working there as a guide. Admitting his own limitations in helping her, he saw the opportunity to connect customers with her, hoping to prevent her from facing ostracism. Yet he made it clear that the suggestion was purely optional, recognizing the less than honorable dealings that sometimes occurred in the market. Grateful for the advice, Suchin expressed his willingness to consider it if the need arose. With a warm smile, the elder shared that his daughter's name was Zhao Lu. On their journey back home, Baiji questioned Suchin's intention to purchase a horse, citing their financial situation. Undeterred, Suchin proclaimed his intent to acquire the finest horse, tailored to Baiji's preferences. With a playful pout, Baiji pointed out the impracticality, teasing him about his reliability. Suchin responded with a smile, insisting he was always truthful. Not convinced, Baiji playfully accused him of dishonesty, prompting hearty laughter from Suchin in response. On the following day, Baiji responded to what seemed like an urgent communication. With her bowl of noodles only half eaten, Baiji hastily rushed outside, informing Suchin that she was leaving to work with the Huafeng Valley. Suchin called out for her to wait, but the door was already closed before she could hear him. Left on his own, Suchin chuckled awkwardly, unsure of how to react to her sudden leave. Recalling Baiji's earlier mention of her birthday, he resolved to descend the mountain and purchase a gift. Transitioning to the bustling atmosphere of the Datong horse market, a girl with a timid demeanor reassured herself that she would secure her first order today. Fearing the consequences of failure, she dreaded facing the manager's blame once more. This girl was introduced as Zhao Lu, the daughter of the stable owner encountered earlier. One of her coworkers expressed admiration for another woman called Mei, highlighting Mei's exceptional performance, having already exceeded her quota halfway through the month. He expressed his desire to be half as good as Mei, while another hoped to achieve at least a tenth of her success. Overhearing their conversation, Mei directed their attention to Zhao Lu, belittling her as someone who hadn't completed a single job in 10 days. In the midst of their conversation, Mei noticed Suchin's figure arriving at their gate. Observing his worn-out carriage, Mei assumed Suchin to be poor, likely only capable of affording a low-quality horse at most. With these assumptions in mind, Mei assigned Suchin to her co-workers. However, with evident disinterest, each of them made up excuses to avoid assisting him. Left with no other options, Mei instructed Zhao Lu to guide the customer. Hesitantly, Zhao Lu questioned if she could really take the customer for herself. Dismissing her concerns with a mean look, Mei disregarded her question as nonsense. Despite Mei's mean attitude, Zhao Lu thanked her for her supposed generosity. However, as Zhao Lu approached the customer, Mei internally labeled her as an idiot, believing Suchin to be too poor to afford much. In Mei's eyes, a low-class poor man like Suchin is not someone who has the right to be received by her personally. Gazing at the two, Mei finds humor in what she perceives as a foolish individual paired with a poor man, deeming them a fitting match. With a slight clumsiness in her words, Zhao Lu greeted Suchin with a tentative smile as they began their interaction. In a casual manner, Suchin inquired if this was her first time on duty. Upon hearing his question, Zhao Lu's mind raced with worry, wondering if she had unintentionally offended the customer, and fearing the possibility of not receiving any more orders, which could ultimately lead to her being fired. However, Suchin quickly reassured her, advising her not to be nervous and requesting her guidance through the process. Regaining her composure, Zhao Lu complied by asking about his budget or if he had any preferences. Suchin responded with a lack of concern or preference. Upon hearing Suchin's statement, Mei expressed her skepticism, questioning if he was pretending to be wealthy to deceive Zhao Lu. As they proceeded to the first floor, Zhao Lu inquired if Suchin had any specific preferences in mind, to which he replied in the negative. Upon reaching the horses on the second floor, Suchin voiced his dissatisfaction with their perceived low quality. Disagreeing with Suchin's assessment, Zhao Lu countered by pointing out that all the horses were in good health. Moving on to the third floor, Zhao Lu elaborated on the exceptional qualities of the stallions there, highlighting their ability to travel 100 miles a day. Despite Zhao Lu's explanations, Suchin remained unimpressed with the selection. Baffled by Suchin's high standards, Zhao Lu questioned in disbelief if the horses were still not satisfactory. Suchin then inquired if there were any superior options available. Amidst their ongoing interaction, Mei appeared on the floor with a merchant. Engaging him in conversation, Mei casually remarked on the prevalence of arrogance in the world, subtly implying that Suchin might be among those exhibiting such behavior. Suddenly pulled closer by the merchant, Mei responded with flirtatious ease, requesting him to take it easy. Concurring with her observation, the merchant acknowledged the existence of individuals who remain unaware of the immense expanse of the sky and the profound depths of the earth. In a flirtatious tone, Mei inquired about the number of equally wealthy individuals in the entire great deserted city. With a pointed glance at Suchin, Mei continued her commentary, insinuating that some people possess lofty aspirations but lack the ability to recognize true value, hinting at the potential consequences of their actions. Returning her focus to the merchant, Mei expressed her belief that only a wealthy gentleman like him could truly appreciate the superiority of the third-floor horses, seeking his agreement. Delving into the merchant's inner musings, he felt a sudden surge of motivation ignited by Mei's words. Initially intending to purchase a top-grade horse, her assertion now compelled him to seek out the absolute best available. Yet, the prospect of parting with 10,000 yuan, even for someone of his means, caused him some discomfort. Despite his initial hesitation, the allure of gaining Mei's favor proved too compelling for the merchant to resist. He rationalized that investing in the finest horse would likely earn him not just her admiration but also her gratitude. With determined resolve, the merchant confirmed his decision to procure a top-grade horse, basking in the flattery bestowed upon him by Mei. However, just as they were preparing to depart, a voice from behind abruptly demanded they halt. Despite recognizing Mei's seniority and yielding to her influence, Zhao Lu expressed her dissatisfaction with Mei's conduct towards her client, ultimately insisting on an apology. Incensed by the demand, Mei retorted sharply, her anger palpable. Wearing a sinister expression, the merchant suggested taking charge of the situation. Seeking his sympathy, Mei feigned tears, expressing gratitude for his support. Delighted by her reaction, the merchant felt a surge of satisfaction. Now with scheming intention, he concluded that by helping her out, he could potentially embrace her tonight. With this in mind, the merchant confronted Zhao Lu, feigning offense at her words. Taken aback by his unexpected response, Zhao Lu was momentarily stunned. Despite her trepidation, Zhao Lu quietly persisted in demanding an apology from Mei on behalf of her guest. Observing Zhao Lu's demeanor, Suchin privately noted her resemblance to Bai Ji. Recognizing her efforts to protect him from mistreatment, he opted to trust her to manage the situation, suspecting that bullying was regrettably familiar to her. Nevertheless, Suchin stayed vigilant, ready to step in if the situation took a turn for the worse. Angered by her audacity to talk back, the merchant trembled in anger. As he grew increasingly furious, he declared his intention to harm her. Ready to intervene, Suchin internally remarks on the merchant's eagerness to die. However, before he could take action, another figure stepped forward. Apologizing to the merchant, the person took the blame for being a bad disciplinarian. Voicing his genuine intention to apologize, the person requested the merchant to calm down. However, upon turning his attention to Zhao Lu, he threatened her with a later punishment. Identifying the individual as Steward Lu, the merchant agreed to his request. However, he advised the steward that some ungrateful people are better off being dismissed, a sentiment echoed by the steward. Upon bidding them farewell, the steward returned his attention to Zhao Lu, only to realize they had already left. Behind the stunned steward, Suchen quietly instructed Zhao Lu to lead him towards the section showcasing the high-grade horses. Zhao Lu, though compliant, raised a practical concern, noting that even the least expensive horse in that category would fetch a hefty price of nearly 10,000 yen. Undeterred, Suchen reassured her of his decision. Acknowledging his resolve, Zhao Lu then invited him to follow her lead. Observing their exchange with a discerning eye, the steward silently resolved to address Zhao Lu's actions once the customers were gone. Meanwhile, in front of an exquisite horse, the merchant made his choice. Standing beside him, Mu Mei expressed her admiration for his grandeur. Seizing the opportunity, the merchant hinted at his anticipation for their intimate encounter later that night. Amidst their flirtatious banter, Mu Mei caught snippets of Zhao Lu's voice from the background. Zhao Lu explained to Suchen that they were in the section renowned for housing the finest and most expensive horses in the market, assuring him he would find something to his liking. Listening in on their conversation, Mu Mei smirked, realizing the horses there commanded prices of up to 10,000 yen. She questioned how a humble boy like Suchen could afford such luxury, criticizing Zhao Lu as foolish for daring to bring him to such a place. Finding amusement in Zhao Lu's audacious demand for an apology, Mu Mei assured herself that Zhao Lu would inevitably be thrown out sooner or later. Meanwhile, catching Suchen's attention, Zhao Lu pointed out a nearby board showcasing the Red Shadow horse, an impressive adult steed capable of covering 300 miles a day. She disclosed its starting price at 11,000 yen, underscoring its value compared to other horses of similar caliber. With an engaging expression, she enthusiastically promoted the horse, extolling its quality coat and optimal age. Going back to the other duo, Mu Mei showered the merchant with compliments, remarking on his enhanced demeanor thanks to his recent acquisition from the horse market. Pleased by Mu Mei's flattery, the merchant drew her closer, praising her sweet disposition and subtly alluding to their impending intimate encounter later that evening. However, after parting ways with the merchant, Mu Mei basked in her own cunningness, finding his type to be the easiest to manipulate. Giggling to herself, Mu Mei marveled at the ease with which she could extract money by simply promising a night of companionship. Shifting her focus to Zhao Lu, she resolved to exact revenge for the reprimand she had received earlier. Returning to her sales pitch, Zhao Lu assured Suchen that the horse would meet his standards, its agreement evident as it seemed to revel in her praises. However, despite her confidence, Suchen remained unimpressed, much to the horse's dismay. Finding his standards too high, Zhao Lu internally acknowledged the horse's exceptional value, something she couldn't afford even in multiple lifetimes. Cutting straight to the point, Suchen instructed her to lead him directly to see the best one they had. With a hint of hesitation, Zhao Lu pointed towards a door, explaining that the finest mounts were housed inside, but they were no ordinary horses anymore. She elaborated that they were all mystical beasts controlled by the horse market capture team. Furthermore, she mentioned that only individuals from major sects who were deemed worthy could enter and purchase these beasts, with the entry fee being some form of mysterious crystal. With some hesitation, Zhao Lu inquired if Suchen wanted to go in. Suchen responded affirmatively, expressing his desire to purchase a gift for his wife and therefore wanting the best. Brimming with admiration, Zhao Lu praised Suchen for being a good husband. However, before she could finish her sentence, Mu Mei interrupted, highlighting that not everyone was eligible to enter the noble Lingxiao pavilion. Approaching Suchen, Mu Mei brazenly questioned his choice, disdainfully labeling him a little punk. With a tone dripping with condescension, she urged him to settle for a lesser horse and leave, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness while subtly insinuating that his presence tarnished the environment. Having reached her limit with Mu Mei's insults, Zhao Lu intervened. She challenged Mu Mei's assumption that she could be pushed around so easily. Delivering a stern warning, Zhao Lu made it clear that Suchen was her guest and that any further rude remarks would not be tolerated. With a condescending look, Mu Mei dared to question Zhao Lu's audacity, probing if she was relying on the beggar beside her or if she was simply a product of her father's life in the stables. In a surge of frustration, Zhao Lu delivered a sharp slap, demanding her silence. Filled with indignation and disbelief, Mu Mei glared at her in response. Surprised by her own action, Zhao Lu fell silent, tears welled up in her eyes as she stared at her hand. With tears now welling up in her own eyes, Mu Mei confronted Zhao Lu's audacity to slap her. Leaving in anger, she declared her intention to ask Steward Lu to drive her out of the horse market immediately, asserting that she was finished. Shocked by the declaration, Zhao Lu concluded that it was over. Despite this, she made a vow to continue serving her first customer, a commitment observed keenly by Suchen. As she requested him to follow her, he silently recognized Zhao Lu's protectiveness towards him, intending to make a purchase to repay her kindness. Standing together before the imposing doors of the Lingxiao Pavilion, Zhao Lu and Suchen shared a brief moment of anticipation before crossing the threshold into the unknown. Meanwhile, in another corner of the market, Mu Mei leaned in flirtatiously as she urged Steward Lu to take action, casting blame on Zhao Lu for mistreatment. Seated on his lap, Mu Mei received reassurances from the steward that he would address Zhao Lu later. While affirming his intention to assist her, the steward explained that he couldn't act immediately as Zhao Lu was attending to a guest. Understanding his predicament, Mu Mei expressed her trust in him. Amidst their flirting, a person urgently entered the room, disrupting their interaction. Inquiring about the interruption, the steward noted his ongoing conversation with Mu Mei. With a sense of urgency, the newcomer revealed the news that the mysterious beast had been sold. Assuming him as the seller, the steward remarked on the person's youth, noting that typically it's the sect disciples who purchase the beasts. Despite acknowledging the person's newfound wealth, he advised maintaining a calm and steady approach. However, the newcomer denied any involvement, attributing the sale to Zhao Lu's customer, leaving both Mu Mei and the steward frozen in shock.